Hey guys, welcome on into Athletes Unplugged. I'm your host, Julie Stewart-Binks. Now, when we launched this show, we had the idea of doing something sort of fun every week with the athletes from Athletes Unlimited to showcase their personalities. But with everything that has transpired in the last week since the murder of George Floyd and the protests that have been so powerful across the country in the face of racial inequality and oppression, we felt it would be appropriate to feature Black athletes within Athletes Unlimited that can help us understand their experiences, hear their stories, and bring about some kind of change that will hopefully be helpful for the future. Now, I'm so pleased to welcome in USA Softball's Kelsey Stewart and the first woman to ever win a Rawlings Gold Glove award, AJ Andrews. Now, I want to thank you both so much for your willingness and openness to talk about this issue, because I know so often the burden falls on people of color to educate white people on racial injustice. And for that, I want to thank you so much, sincerely. Now, can you guys just tell me, a lot has happened in the last week. What has the experience been like? Kelsey, I'll start with you.
I think that this has kind of been the tip of the iceberg. This is nothing new. This has been happening, again, for 400 plus years. And like you've seen on the internet, the only difference is it's being filmed. So this is nothing new for us. We deal with this daily. This is something when I grew up, I was being called the N-word and I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. And we tried kneeling peacefully. Kaepernick tried to kneel peacefully. Everyone wanted him to get up. Everyone wanted those athletes to get up. So now this is kind of like, what's next? And this is what was next.
For Black Americans, this past week is our day-to-day lives. And I think that's something that's really important to get across, because once the hashtags go away, once this isn't a trending topic, once you posting your 24-hour social media story to contribute comes down, this will still be the reality for Black Americans, right? I mean, just similar to Kelsey, you talk to any Black athlete, any Black person in the world, and they're going to have a story that matches with another Black person that you know. The discrimination, racism is a part of Black Americans' lives. We have conversations from the time we are able to walk to the bus stop by ourselves until now, right? Conversations that white Americans don't even have to think about having. Driving, I played at LSU, right? Living in Louisiana, driving to Florida, I have to pass through Mississippi and Alabama, and I will sit in my car and see if there's another person of color before to get out to make sure it is okay for me to pump my gas in certain areas. This is a day-to-day, this is life for Black Americans. This isn't a trending topic. There's so many more instances like this that we do not know about and wouldn't know about had there not been social media.
You mentioned, AJ, there about the idea of like social media with all this. And there's been so many posts and a lot of white people, including myself, saying, hey, I want to understand, I want to have the conversation and learn what it's like from your perspective. Do you agree with sort of the social media trend of doing something like this? Like, how do you feel about white people posting things? Like, what's sort of your take on all of it?
I feel like there's so many people that think racism is a singular action, right? They see something happen with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and think, oh, that was really sad. Oh, that cop, he shouldn't have done that, right? And they think that it's a one-time thing. And then once you see a pattern, right, and once you see these conversations continuously happening, I think it truly opens people's eyes, and at least I hope it does, because at this point, no matter what you do, if you choose to look away, if you choose to speak out, you can no longer say you didn't know. And that's what's important about social media, really driving the conversations, forcing the conversations that people that get uncomfortable with it just tend to shy away from. I love the fact that it's forcing people to pay attention. It's forcing people to look. So I think social media helps with that.
Yeah, like AJ said, like it's in your face. You can't say you didn't know. I think that's the best part of all of this. And I've been trying to figure out myself, like, why is this time different? Like, George Floyd wasn't the first one that was choked to death. Eric was the first one that we saw on camera. So like, why was this time different? And I came up with, like, no one is distracted, right? So like, we have the COVID, so everyone's at home. So social media has really been the driving force for this change that we need to happen. And I think lots of my friends have been asking, like, what can I do? What can I do? Well, I'm like, obviously, like, you can protest peacefully, you can do all of those things, but don't just post a 24-hour thing. Like, use your platform, say something, like, defend what is wrong. It's clearly, there's a wrong and there's a right. To me, it's very simple. Like, I'm Black and you're white, but we're the same people. Like, it doesn't matter our color of skin, like, we're the exact same people. And like, my message to everyone, like, it's okay to change your opinion when you gather more information, right? Like, your parents, probably your grandparents, like my grandparents were racist before I was born. So like, them being able to change your opinion has really helped our family in general. But I think you as a human being can gather more information on this and realize like what's happening is not right, and change your opinion and help to change for future generations coming up.
Right. I mean, such powerful words from both of you. And both as softball players, you know, sports isn't immune to racism as well and to different inequalities. What do you think that your sport in particular could do? What changes could be made to make it more inclusive?
So I've been thinking about this question. I think that sports is very inclusive, but the problem comes is when we fail or when we do things, they forget we're human, and all of a sudden we're the N-word, and we suck, and Cap needs to get up, he needs to go hang himself, all these different things. And I think that we need to just realize that we're human. And I do think the sport softball, we need to, obviously, I think Black women in the sport softball is very rare. Like me, AJ, I think there's probably 4 other Black women in AU. So I think that be more inclusive from the beginning. I think invite those little Black girls to play softball, do those little things. I think that's the best way to really get union in the sport. So I think really figuring out a way to change the dynamic of color in sports will help. Like, obviously men, football, basketball, it's mainly color, right? But as far as women's sports, I think that we need to push our Black women and realize like their power of what they can do.
It's a complex question when you ask what should be done in softball. And I think when it comes to making a change, you have to acknowledge the fact that if you are going to have diversity, if you're going to say that you are a sport or a team of inclusion, you have to acknowledge that there's people a part of your team, a part of your organization that are hurting. I hope that softball moving forward can be like that, the way you see it in the WNBA, the way you see it in the NBA, right? I mean, even with the confrontation and all the conflict with Kaepernick, the NFL made a statement, right? I mean, I just think that that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, the bare minimum to denounce something that is inherently wrong. What do you guys think needs to happen for this movement to make change? What are the next steps, whether that's from someone like me, from legislatively, from just daily interactions? What does that look like?
I think people need to be more well educated on their history. I think it's true. If you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. You have to understand that this is nothing new. These riots, these peaceful protests are nothing new. I think that people have to realize that if you are not moving forward, you are inevitably moving back. And we have moved back because as a country and as a nation, we have not moved forward. Racism is as persistent as it has been since civil rights. It's not enough anymore to just not be racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. Then you have to move forward and you have to vote. You have to take action because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, right? This isn't just a one thing. This isn't just a race issue. If African Americans cannot get rights, who's to say LGBTQ rights won't be stripped away? Who's to say women's rights won't be stripped away? On and on and on and on and on. This is not one thing. And when I say educated, don't just read, right? Ask questions. If you have Black people in your life, ask them how you can be of help to them. Go speak out. Go to protest. Show that you are truly going to use your privilege in a positive way to help those that are oppressed be uplifted and be empowered.
Create those relationships with people that aren't like you. Like, go up to AJ and be like, hey, how are you? Like, what do you do? Like, all you have to do is form something that's similar, and then like the relationship takes off. And then be intentional with that relationship. Like, speak up. Like, you can't speak up about the looting but not speak about the murder. Like, that is what's happening. That's the cause and effect. So I think you need to be intentional about those relationships and asking questions and how you can really change what's going on. And then start at home, right? Like, your children, like, make sure that they know like this, what's right and what's wrong. I will not be offended. Like, if you say the wrong thing and you're trying to be educated, like, I'll let you know, maybe you shouldn't ask it like that, but I'm going to educate you on what I know. And I think that's a lot of the problem, is that people are scared to ask the wrong thing. And I would rather you ask me the wrong thing to be educated on what's going on than you stay silent because you don't want to hurt my feelings. Like at this point, my feelings are already hurt, right? Like you can't do any more to oppress Black people, right? Like you asking the wrong question isn't going to make me feel worse than I already do about what's going on. So ask those questions to really gain the knowledge of what's going on.
You know, I really appreciate you just both being so open and honest and helpful about this conversation. So, you know, it's got to be very tiring.
I think it's extremely tiring only because like it keeps happening. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like the first time, and this probably won't be the last time because an unarmed Black man was just shot yesterday. No cameras were on, that thing. Like things like this continue to happen, and I feel like there's no change. And no matter how many times we speak out, we cried, we kneeled, like at this point we're just tired. And so hopefully that this is a change that we can, again, like AJ said, move forward and not go backwards.
You know, I think sometimes like what a luxury it is to look at this information of unarmed Black people being shot and to just go on about your day to day, right? Because Black Americans don't have that luxury. That happens, and it has to be a conversation. George Floyd, now Black Americans all across the country are trying to figure out how they can stay alive if they're ever in that situation. Black Americans now don't go outside in hoods due to Trayvon Martin right at night. Black Americans now make sure that they are it's traumatizing. It really is. It's PTSD, having to experience racism over and over again, having to see it being taken place over and over again for the simple fact that someone's hue is darker than someone else's. I mean, when you even put it in those words, it just sounds absolutely ridiculous. But it is truly the day-to-day, again, like I said, reality for Black Americans. And it is very exhausting. It's very exhausting to know that when you get pulled over, you know you've done absolutely nothing wrong, but you fear for your life in that moment. You have to turn on your phone. You have to text someone in that 20 seconds before the cop gets to your car to let them know what is happening just for your safety. And maybe you were speeding, right? Something people do every single day. Mm-hmm. And so it definitely is exhausting. It's hurtful. It has to be shown because we don't have the luxury of looking away. I hope now white Americans stop just turning the TV off and saying, oh, I don't want to view it. Oh, I don't want to look at it. Because you can't. It's happening every day. Every day you turn it on, now you're going to see it. So I'm glad it's forcing that conversation. And maybe white Americans will be just as exhausted as Black Americans are, so tired enough to where they're actually going to try to help and be an ally to change.
Well, we definitely want to be an ally to change. And I can't thank you both enough for these inspirational, powerful messages, and just for everyone watching out there. AJ, we'll start with you. Just tell us what you're working on next.
Yeah, just working on a lot of different things in regards to my own personal brand, but I feel that's not really as important right now. I feel right now it's important to, if you're following me on social media, I'm trying to give as much information for everyone to see how it is that they can actively be involved in stopping racism. So if you want to know what I'm doing currently, it's trying to be an agent for change. So I really hope you look to that.
Like AJ said, like obviously I'm working on my personal brand, just trying to reach as many as I can with softball, but I'm trying to be that person you can go to if you need more knowledge, or if I don't know the answer, I can send you to someone like AJ. I think that's what's important right now, is making a change. So I'm just trying to be that person that can help everyone go in the right direction.
Thank you guys so much for helping us understand and just see the world from your perspective. And we'll look forward to seeing what you do in the future, and especially with Athletes Unlimited as the season approaches.
Thank you.